Tonight, sayonara to sunshine.
At least the two of us lost power. At some point, we all lost power, but those all came back on.
Forget about 70-degree weather. Old man winter is back and causing power problems across Montana.
And speaking of power,
well, it's a good feeling moving forward, but you know, with anything, you just have to keep improving.
the Colstrip community has a lot to celebrate. Tonight, a closer look at how an executive order from President Trump will impact the coal mining town.
And measles in Montana.
So it's not, so there were multiple, now we're seeing more and more areas reporting cases of measles.
Montana has its first suspected case in more than 3 decades.
The MTN 530 News starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Andrea Lutz.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. A spring snowstorm strikes Montana.
From Hardin to Livingston, Colstrip to Billings, winter is packing quite a punch today. Well, these are the sights from across the region as 60-degree days gave way to a wonderful winter wonderland.
Yeah, we had around 6 inches of fresh powder here in Billings today, with other areas seeing more than a foot. This system definitely proving just how quickly Montana weather can change.
This taste of winter, it looks beautiful, but it's led to some major headaches. In fact, nearly 45% of Yellowstone County was left in the dark this morning.
From snapped branches to down power lines, Yellowstone County had the largest power outage in the entire United States at one point this morning.
As our Matt Carmack explains, the weather even forced the closure of one Billings school.
A busy morning for Billings fire crew.
In the first 2 hours this morning, we had about 35 calls for service for utility-based incidents, in a time period where we might ordinarily have 3 or 5 calls.
As outages appeared all across the city, especially in the Heights and Northeast.
In more developed and more mature neighborhoods is where we're seeing the problem.
Father of 2 and Billings resident Nicholas Van Mierlo was one of the thousands in the Heights area without power.
We have a gas stove, so used a camping lighter to light the gas and heated up the house that way with a gas stove.
Van Mierlo did this after snow caused tree branches to fall onto nearby power lines.
Apparently, tree got loaded down with snow and pulled one of the power lines off the power poles in the alley. At least the two of us lost power. At some point, we all lost power, but those all came back on.
Power outages on Thursday weren't just seen in residential areas. Here at Canyon Creek School, students K through 8 were dismissed at 12 o'clock after a loss of power throughout the school and low water pressure.
It was kind of weird. In first period, we were just like in the tech lab, and then all of a sudden, just like some of the computers just like turned off and stuff.
Yeah, I went to like 4 different classrooms seeing if I could wash my hands. But yeah, toilets wouldn't flush either. It was very interesting.
But for students at Canyon Creek School, that news came with excitement.
Water wasn't running, no one could use the bathroom, and then we got the huge intercom that said we could go home.
I remember we were in Mr. Brown's math class for 3rd period, and our class kind of went crazy.
As power outages are still ongoing, Billings Fire Department warns everyone to stay safe and keep their distance from the danger.
The thing to be aware of is that for a lot of people, it's hard to tell the difference between a communications line like your internet or telephone versus a power line.
In Billings, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
Well, the snow moved out of the Billings area this afternoon. It kept falling at Red Lodge Mountain, where a foot of fresh powder fell today. And this was the scene earlier. The mountain once again looking like a winter wonderland. The snow so heavy that one worker had a tough time moving a snowblower. But over in Cook City, which usually gets the brunt of most winter storms, it was much different scene with very little new snow on the ground. With the very latest on this system, here's meteorologist Jason Stiff.
Yeah, quite a day for us in Wyoming and Montana. Typical spring day for us, and we're almost a month into spring, but we're not quite done with all the snow and a little bit of rain. We can see we have more of it moving in from the highline right now, but nothing compared to what we've had over the last 12 to 18 hours. Still some areas of light snow to moderate snow over parts of south central Montana and north central Wyoming, mostly over the higher terrain. But again, we're not quite done with all the rain and snow, but compared to what we've already received, we've received about 95% 45% of what we're going to get. Not a very warm day for the Magic City. Had lots of snow, about 7.5 inches here and there. Had a low of 30 and a high of only 35. But there are changes going forward. Our complete 7-day forecast with all the details in a few minutes.
Many of us cranking up our thermostats today. A lot of that energy is coming from Colstrip.
45% of Montana's energy comes from the coal plant, and that number could grow due to an executive order from President Trump.
Our Charlie Kleps traveled there to learn more about the impact.
For years, there's been uncertainty surrounding the future of the Colstrip power plant, and along with it, it's raised concerns about the future of the town of Colstrip itself. But after this week's executive order from Donald Trump, there's now stability on the horizon for both.
It means everything.
In the small town of Colstrip, coal truly does mean everything.
Everybody came here to construct the power plant, and then they stayed here.
The large power plant that looms over the town is part of the reason Colstrip was established.
It's very important for our community, and as I said before, for the whole state of Montana.
It's important that it stays here.
Mayor John Williams and former plant employee Bill Newmiller say the plant has long been a source of pride in the community.
We know what we have here. We recognize the value of what's going on in Colstrip, and others have too.
But in recent years, the future of Colstrip has been in limbo.
It was kind of an up and down emotional roller coaster.
That roller coaster has largely centered around environmental concerns, with many public utilities turning away from coal and to renewable energy sources like wind and solar. In 2020, 2 of Colstrip's 4 generating plants were shut down.
The more carbon dioxide we pump into the atmosphere, the more degraded our climates are going to become.
A decision Lander Bussey approved of. Bussey, the son of former gubernatorial candidate Ryan Bussey, was involved in a landmark 2023 youth climate lawsuit against Montana, who alleged the state had violated their right to a clean environment.
We have reached a limit in fossil fuel emissions.
Bussey says the intent was never to eliminate jobs in places like Colstrip, but to nudge the community and others to turn coal jobs into new renewable energy jobs.
And if we want to be able to even start the process of energy transition, we have to start now.
We're all concerned with the environmental impact, but these are clean burning units. They are clean. That's a fact.
And it appears the Trump administration agrees, as the president this week signed an executive order limiting the EPA's control, allowing plants like Colstrip to stay online well past their retirement dates.
It's a relief to me knowing that these units are going to continue to operate.
It gives them a little bit of stability going forward.
In Colstrip, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
The Gallatin City County Health Department is investigating a possible measles case. Health officials say they've been notified of a possible case and are now investigating and contacting those who have been possibly exposed. The last reported case of measles was in Montana in 1990. This case comes after a nationwide outbreak of 750 that's already killed 2 unvaccinated children in Texas.
According to the CDC, at least 20 jurisdictions are reporting cases of measles. So jurisdiction typically would be a state and such, but it could be other things. So it's not, so there are multiple, now we're seeing more and more areas reporting cases of measles.
The CDC says once contracted, symptoms typically take 7 to 14 days to appear, and those early signs include high fever, cough, runny nose, and watery eyes. We do not know any details about the suspected patient in Gallatin County.
State health officials say they've seen a significant increase in drug overdoses. According to the Department of Public Health and Human Services, between March 1st and April 15th, Montana saw 7 fatal overdoses and 132 non-fatal overdoses. Nearly 100 of those occurred in March alone, while the state average was around 70 a month in 2024. DPHHS says data showed most of the overdoses involved fentanyl, but also included reports of other drugs like methamphetamine or cocaine. Recent overdoses do not appear to be concentrated in any single part of the state. Officials say it's important to have the overdose reversal drug Narcan and know how to use it. That drug is available over the counter and free of charge at some locations.
The Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority won't receive state funding to help fund their passenger rail service on the southern route of Montana. According to the Daily Montanan, House Bill 848 failed on the Senate floor this week. That measure would give $2 million from the railroad car tax to the authority. Currently, the tax brings in about $4 million a year going to the general fund. The Big Sky Passenger Rail Authority is hoping to return service to Montana for the first time in nearly 50 years. And a long-term property tax reform bill is now headed to the governor's desk. It would ensure property taxes collected on new developments are used to offset taxes paid by existing homeowners and businesses. The legislation is similar to a bill that narrowly failed in the 2023 legislative session. Meanwhile, Governor Gianforte continues to push his homestead rate cut bill. That would lower property taxes for Montana homeowners by 15% and small businesses by 18%.